Welcome to the eCommerce Masters Podcast, the platform where we delve into the stories and strategies of e-commerce trailblazers. I'm your host, Ethan Giffen, and today we have the pleasure of welcoming another remarkable guest to our show. We are honored to have Tom McManus, the CEO of KegWorks.com, join us today. KegWorks is the leader in architectural metalwork and draft beer equipment for commercial and residential bars. Tom is also a certified Pinnacle business guide, coaching other entrepreneurs on their climb to the summit. Tom has been a longtime client, friend, and confidant to me, and if you meet him, just be mindful that he may make you smoke cigars until the wee hours of the morning. Tom, welcome to the show.
It's just a rumor. It's not true. Okay, maybe it is true, but that's fine. That's fine. It's great to be here, Ethan. Appreciate you asking me to do this. Honored to be here.
And thank you. Thank you for doing it. And I'm very honored that you would. You're a very busy guy, and very honored you would spend your time together. I want to start things out. Just a little funny story is that you and I believe that we met probably back in 2016 or 17. I believe in that kind of time frame, and we met over Zoom or Google Meet. The first, and then that led to us spending a night at Inbound in Boston, and you made me come out after working the booth all day. Made me come out and smoke cigars at your spot in Boston, until they threw us out of there at 2:00 in the morning. And I came in the next day like coughing and smelling bad. They didn't want to let me in the booth, and so. I appreciate
cigar
that.
bar in the whole country too. It is just some gross underground place, and I won't even go into the neighborhood. But man, I love that place.
It's great. And then I remember when I came to visit you for the first time at your offices. We literally, of course, I was in a rental car, but we literally both had the same kind of brand of car. I had a white button down on with my sleeves rolled up. You had a white button down, and your staff kind of looked at us together, and they were like, "Oh no, this is just not we don't need two of these guys, wandering around."
Yeah. My staff will definitely tell you they don't need two.
So tell our audience a little bit about KegWorks and what you sell. What your products are.
So KegWorks is 26 years old. It was founded by my previous partner, David and I. He founded the company. A few years later, he hired me as the CEO. A few years later, we became partners, and we grew KegWorks from our first product was you know how on your street, everyone's dad had that friend somewhere in his garage that he had turned an old refrigerator into a kegerator? Like everyone's dad had that friend somewhere on the street. And
yes, the coolest dad on the block.
Exactly. And when we were growing up, it wasn't a thing. It was up, you had to work to do that. Well, we figured out, my old partner, David Rivers, his dad owned a small grocery store in Syracuse. And it was a beer store before craft beer was a thing. And he sold the pieces and parts to make these conversion kits. David, in the late 90s, God, it bums me out that I've been doing eComm for, I'm sniffing 30 years now. God. Yeah, I know. This goes back to the whole this getting old shit. Sorry, I'll watch my language. So we started with that product. We grew it to everything you find in a bar except the alcohol. Over time, market trends change. We really kind of recognized where our product lines were commoditized and actively left certain product lines. It's hard leaving a product that you've been selling for 25 years. But we really, in the last few years, have doubled down on architectural metal. So what I mean by architectural metal for hospitality is it's the finishing details you find in a bar. So it is the bar foot rail is what we're really known for in the marketplace. So if you've been in a bar that's been built or remodeled, bar, restaurant, hotel bar, anywhere in the United States in the last 15 years, and there's a foot rail on it, there's a pretty good chance it came from KegWorks. Hey, there we are. Please don't let the site crash. Please don't let the site crash. So we, styles of brackets, different finishes. We've grown architectural metal to include drink rail. So what drink rail is when you're at a bar on the bartender side, there's that gutter on the bartender side. Usually there's a mat in there or something. Oh, there we go. We manufacture those inserts in custom finishes with drip trays on top of them. We do architectural shelving is something we've grown into, and we still have a pretty significant B2C business for our draft beer equipment. But all of our growth has really come, from being 50% of our business of draft beer to draft beer is now 15% of our business.
Wow. So who's kind of your target customer now? What's your target market now?
So our target market is really interesting. We spend a majority of our marketing efforts talking to architects and interior designers. And what we do is we make it really, really easy for them to bring their vision to life for this bar in regards to finishes and customizations to the products. So they could either use our standard off-the-shelf products, or we can bend them, or we can custom finish them, or whatever. So it really doesn't matter who purchases our client, because in construction materials, the key is being spec'd on the blueprint. And that is the Willy Wonka golden ticket. If you are spec'd on the blueprint, it doesn't matter who buys it. They have to use your product. So once you're spec'd, there's no competition. So we spend a lot of time making it easy for those people to spec our products. So we talk to designers, we get involved in projects very early on. And on the other hand, sometimes, we're the last thing that sometimes separates a certificate of occupancy and somebody opening to our customers getting off the site. So it's not unusual. I like to say our sales cycle is either 6 months or 6 hours. So it is. Yeah. It's not unusual going, oh shit, where do we get, damn, I did it again. Oh shucks, where do we get this? And they give us a call and we get the products out to them. I have a very talented sales team, a great VP of sales that really kind of hold the customer's hand and get them through this process. It's been interesting transitioning our company from an eComm company first to an eComm as just a delivery mechanism for us, and really optimizing our eComm experience to number one. It's changing our definition of a conversion. A conversion used to be a traditional, credit card in, transaction. Now, because of this, we've really changed our definition of a conversion to it's an inquiry. Besides a regular transaction too, because sometimes that inquiry is a lot more valuable than the actual, small transaction. So that was a really, really long answer to your question. Sorry about that.
It's a fantastic answer, but it's a fantastic answer, actually. It's a fantastic answer. And it's kind of a blend of a little bit, it's a blend of B2C and B2B, right? Like you're kind of doing you're doing cash and carry in 6 hours, or you're doing a significant amount of planning, over the course of looking at the blueprints. And so, if anybody's been to our office, I always like to have a bar in our office location. It's great for entertaining, and we've got fantastic bar rail and your products that are
And we appreciate
in
that.
our office, and people always talk about how great it looks. And it was a fantastic process to go through with our architect to kind of figure out with your folks what we needed to kind of make it all work.
It is pretty sweet too, like the nature of what we do, and because we don't have a ton of competition, and we have a lot of designs that we made. So I can walk into a bar anywhere in the country and like, oh, that's ours. I was down visiting my dad, and my dad took me to his club. He's like, oh yeah, he's just remodeled. I walked in. I'm like, yeah, it's KegWorks foot rail in there. He's like, really? He's like, how do you know? I'm like, that design, that's ours. Peter Luger's in the new Caesars. When I was out there a couple months ago, walked in there. I'm like, okay, that drink rail's ours. Sent a message back. I'm like, we do Peter Luger's? Yeah. I'm like, yeah, I can tell. So it is pretty cool to do that.
That's
And
cool.
sometimes
It's always cool.
I'll just make it up too. I'm like, yeah, that's ours. How do you know? I know. I'm like, tell me I'm wrong. So
It's interesting. When we first met, a bunch of years ago, you were all about grow, grow, grow. And then I remember the conversation shifted, and that was through multiple channels, marketplaces, Amazon. Let's spread as big a net as possible. And then I remember specifically a conversation with you where you said, we're just not making any money on 3/4 of the things we sell on Amazon. We're just like turning dollars over, and we're lucky if we, ultimately by the time everybody gets a cut, we're lucky if we even like break even on it at times. Right. And I remember you started to shift that. And now you've gone through another significant evolution of that, where you've pared back your catalog even more, with that. How is your kind of feeling on growth? How has that changed, and evolved over the years?
so it yeah, it was we were growing through multiple channels. So we had at one point we were selling through 9 different channels. Our website, our own team, Amazon, eBay, Walmart, Rakuten. I can't even remember all of them. And it was just, like I said, it was just trading dollars. And it was a lot of work to end up with not a lot left. So we got rid of everything except for Amazon. And, kind of dug into the numbers a little bit more, And I'm like, we got to get out. It's a race to the bottom. And it really becomes, I like to call it revenue heroin. It is so bad for your company, and it is so hard to quit. Even though you need to quit, you gotta stop. And it takes some fortitude to wean yourself off of it. I can give 2 speeches in a drop of a hat. I can talk for 45 minutes. Well, I can talk for 45 minutes. I'm just cause, but I can give you 2 speeches. I can give it a drop of a hat. Number one, why you opening a bar is a terrible idea. And the second one is, here's what you should think about before you put your business on Amazon. And it took us 2 years to get ourselves completely off of Amazon. And it was amazing how much noise we took out of the organization when we just focused on doing our own stuff. Okay. And, we were doing a couple $1 million. So this wasn't a decision we took lightly on this. And so we got off of Amazon, but the focus we put on the rest of it, we didn't see a top line revenue dip. Okay. We were able to, if you look at our financials, it looks like we were stagnant for 3 years in a row until you look at the bottom line. And, doing a lot less transactions, a lot less of that. So, as we're doing this, okay, so we still had our full line of products. And do you guys have the big box store at home down by you? It's like a
No,
Home Depot
no.
for interior design. Um, I think
Okay.
Home Goods and TJ. I think it's a TJ Maxx, Home Goods. It's in that um, corporate thing. Um, but like all those weird pillows and like that crazy like branches that your wife puts in a vase that you have no idea. Yeah, there we go. You have no idea where that stuff comes from. Okay, it comes from this store. Okay, so it's all this kind of stuff that just shows up in your house, and eventually you got to move. And you're like, how do we get all this crap? Okay, they get it at home. They get it at home, and it had just opened up. It was Christmas time. I was walking through at home, and I bought my wife something small, and I was at the checkout, and they had cocktail shakers on the checkout as like an impulse buy. And it was at that very moment I'm like, I don't want to be in this business anymore. Like it is absolutely been commoditized. Like it's like beer growlers. I sold tens of thousands of beer growlers. How many of them do you have in your house, and how often do you use them anymore? Like how many cocktail shakers does a man need? Does a person need? Excuse me, but you know what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
I'm like, you know what? I'm done. We're going to work our way out of this. And we've done that. And we are out of everything except for architectural metal and draft beer. And this year, we may break our sales record. And it's not too bad with the taxes I got to pay now.
Yeah.
So,
That's
you
great.
know what I'm saying?
No, that's great. I mean, it's just yeah, yeah, yeah. It's just a very interesting perspective, and I think that people get into that revenue heroin, as you say, and like get addicted to it, and they can't get out of it. And it's very, interesting, how you've doubled down on the products that people know you for, and and I think even though and it's great that you manufacture. I mean, do you that you manufacture a large chunk of what you're selling now, right? It just creates better margins. It just creates uniqueness in the marketplace. It's not commoditized. And the products you do resell for others, you have such a deep knowledge on, and things like
I'll take an AOV of
tap equipment.
3,000 versus 100 all day long. You know, yeah, with a significantly better margin. It I'm not a rocket scientist by any
Absolutely.
means. So it's playing in blue ocean versus red ocean. And we're really digging our moat in this architectural metal thing, and we're pretty excited about the growth opportunities, and we think we're just getting started with it too.
That's great. So, is there a favorite product that you've developed, under your watch that's been developed, or an option that's been created that's your favorite currently?
I love drink rail. I love drink rail. Um, it was something that we saw, we couldn't figure out the best way to manufacture. We finally found our manufacturing partners with it. We dialed in the finishes, um, and it the ability to customize it. Um, we use some tools that allow us to look at blueprints, um, and um, this tool allows us to kind of search for keywords on blueprints. And what we found was drink rail showed up a lot more than foot rail. And then what it said was
Interesting.
it was of the drink rail, it was never spec'd. Okay, there was never a manufacturer spec. It was, it was usually made by a one-off machine shop or, metal shop, that the millwork had a relationship with. Hey, can you make this? Well, we made it a lot easier for everyone by doing it that way. So I think Drink Rail, we just really launched it 18 months ago, and it is going like gangbusters. And we see quotes we're spec'd on, so we know what's coming down the pipe for the next 18 months. So we're spec'd on drink rail all over the place. And even though when we're spec'd on foot rail, my team knows to ask, how do we get into the drink rail? Can we do that? Can we quote that too? Like, oh yeah, you do that? Great. Yeah. So yeah, it's the drink rail, I think, is going to be a huge opportunity for us.
It's great. How did you connect with David? How did you, what was your in to kind of get involved with KegWorks?
So Dave actually worked for me at another company. I was the sales manager at a web development shop. Back in the day when we used to sell web development by the page, it was brochureware. Yeah. And you would sell it. Here's it's a 10-page site. All right, you sold it by the page. He had just started KegWorks. He wanted to learn about what we knew about SEO and internet marketing and digital and development. And he said, I'm going to come on as a commission-only salesman. And he didn't sell a thing, to be honest. But we got to be pretty good friends. And, Dave was my friend I could drink expensive whiskey with. Everybody needs that friend. And one night, we had gotten our hands on a pretty nice bottle of Lager, or no, it was a bottle of Lafroig. It was like a bottle of 30-year-old. I was in the alcohol space in like a big data company, but I had access to some good stuff. And halfway through the night, he said, KegWorks is kind of growing past me. I think I'm going to hire a CEO to kind of do it. And we were just always talking business. And at the end of the night, he's like, would you be interested? I'm like, I don't know. And then the next morning, he called me, said, I'd like you to come down for a second interview. I'm like, well, really? I didn't realize I had a first, but okay, maybe I'll actually prep this time.
Yeah.
So so I had the right background of eComm, sales. I give him a lot of credit to throw the keys to a 35-year-old guy who never, barely ran a team of 10 to run your company. And, myself and, someone else in the organization, an outside investor, we bought Dave out last year. So Dave and I had an 18-year run together. So we did some cool stuff. We made a lot of mistakes, but we did a lot of cool stuff.
That's great. That's great. The mistakes are, it's all about the journey, right? Like the journey is the story, right? The mistakes are the journey. So absolutely. So that's cool. That's a great run.
You touched on the coaching stuff I do, and and that's why people hire me for as a coach or an advisor. Is I'm like, look, I'm not here to sell you a book. I'm not a consultant by trade. I said the biggest compliment someone can give me is to call me an operator. And I can tell you, I've been doing this for a long time, and I got scars and calluses, and I can tell you all the mistakes I made. And, after you make enough of them, your pattern recognition gets pretty good. And that's why people work with me, to help them, take their companies to that next step, to get that leadership team aligned, to get that strategic plan in place, but also to, share experiences on how I screwed stuff up.
Yep. What's your team look like now? What's your eComm team look like now?
My eComm team. Um, so
Structure,
eComm,
roles.
yeah. So eComm sits. I have a. I'm not even sure what his title is. I got my main eComm guy, Ryan. Has been with me a long time. Uh, Smart guy. Started as just like a PPC analyst and has grown and matured and learned. He's now our eComm director. Um, so he kind of runs point on everything. We have one developer in house, copywriter in house, and a photographer, videographer in house too. So we have an
Okay.
outside, we have outside freelancers that we bring in. Hank, our photo video guys, kind of closest to, to an art, almost like an art director. So he manages all our outsourced resources, for print stuff, for sell sheets, that sort of thing. We run really lean on that too. And honestly, the more, it's a lot easier to run a 1,500 SKU operation than it is to run a 25,000 SKU operation too. You know, it it
Yep.
significantly cuts down the number of PPC campaigns you got to run. That's for sure. Um, Once again, it allows us to focus. It allows us to dial in. There are keywords we defend with a knife. Um, and then there's other ones like, yeah, okay, we don't have to do that anymore. And it's been interesting transitioning from a B2C to a B2B type operation. You can take off a lot of the things that you need in a that are, table stakes in a B2C, you know, um, you know, on a B2B thing,
Yeah. What are the main
what,
differences? But
what I find too is you are doing a little less or a little more subtle selling. Okay, you're pushing for them to make the phone call. You're pushing them for their request more information. You want to get them in versus, pow, here's 10% off for your email address. Boom, here's a retargeting ad. 2 days later, pow, shopping cart abandonment. You know, we don't have to do that anymore. Um, I'm trying to bring the modals down to next to nothing on the site. It's not like on that first page you're hitting them with a modal. It's a little more subtle now. They're in there for a little bit. I'm trying to bring the carny element down. Our customers, the people that we're talking to, are high end architects. They're high end designers. Um, you gotta the UX UI needs to be a little bit different on that
yep.
too. You're really playing the long game.
But yeah, I would imagine trying to figure out who these designers are and the architects are that spec your product is also part of that as well. How do you entice them to contact you and to bring their projects to you, right? There's all of that aspect of things. And so when somebody does that, does that go to a salesperson on your side, or yeah, what is that process?
It's interesting because we get the blueprints. Okay, so if we're spec'd on it, they got to send us the prints for us to do what we got to do. So on that blueprint, you know who the architect is, you know who the designer is. So we cross-reference that to our internal database. Do we know who these guys are? Yes, great. Thank them for specing us. We appreciate that. If not, we go backwards. We introduce ourselves, that sort of thing. We're always trying to get as wide as we can in these organizations, too. And it's interesting. The closest thing from a social media point of view is trying to connect with them on LinkedIn, because chances are we're either dealing with the main designer or we're dealing with the most junior person in the organization. and they've been tasked to go find bar rail, go find drink rail, go find this. So it's just as important for us to talk to that junior person and build that relationship. So over time, as they mature and they jump to another company, jump to another firm, and they bring us along. So it's kind of like an annuity. It compounds upon itself by getting in, getting as deep into these organizations as we can, and then getting as wide as we can in the organizations.
All right. Well, that I think that segues good into my next question of like, can you break down your current e-commerce tech stack? What are you using, right? So I know that you're on BigCommerce for your platform. The technical questions. I know that you love technical questions, right?
Yeah.
But you're on
Like I said,
BigCommerce for your e-commerce platform.
so we run we run a triangle offense. So BigCommerce, HubSpot, and NetSuite, and the joys of moving
All right, and
data
you're using
between those
HubSpot
three:
for both email and CRM.
email, CRM,
All right, all right.
and I think we just moved the blog off of HubSpot. But yeah, so HubSpot,
Okay.
CRM, chat, ticketing, Sales Hub, Service Hub, Marketing Hub.
Okay. All right. So
Uh,
three hubs there. Just Uno for some of the modal pop-ups. Feedonomics, I think, for your for some feeds. Soligo for your NetSuite integration.
yep,
SearchSpring for your site search, and then I
yep.
think Border Free right now, or it's going to be Digital River
Digital
for
River,
the
yep.
international.
They just sunsetted border free um, for our international stuff. That was an interesting journey. We started with border free, 20 something years ago, and then Canada Post sold border free. It became E4X. E4X got bought by someone. We went to Bongo. That when we were on Magento, that was an unmitigated disaster. Um, and then we went to Pitney Bowes, and then Pitney Bowes bought Border Free because, of course, they bought
Mm-hmm.
Border Free, and then they sunsetted Border Free again. So we've left Border Free, I think, 3 times in the last 20 years. None by really our choice. Um, and now we are just launching Digital River, who we're excited about. So
That's great.
it'll,
That's great.
yeah.
That's great.
Um,
So, all right, let's kind of let's move over into some kind of more business related
sure.
questions. So I know that you've been involved with EO for a long time.
Yep.
I'm curious how being involved with EO has impacted your ascension as CEO and the growth and how it's affected you as a business person.
So what I can tell you about so EOS is short for the Entrepreneurs Organization. It's a global organization, 18,000 members across the world. There are 225, 250 chapters all over the place. Um, for EO, it is, man, I love how you talk about something and magically it shows up on the screen. You guys are great. Um, so what it really is you need to be the majority owner or an owner with operational control doing at least $1 million a year in revenue. Um, and it's focused on peer learning. Okay, so it is, you're in, the main part of EO is what's called a forum, which are, 6 to 8 other business owners. And it is, a safe place that you can share all the noise that's going on in your head. And it's not just business, it's family, it's personal development, it is involvement in the community, and all the the legs of the stool that make us entrepreneurs. And when one of those legs is wobbly, it's the stool becomes unstable. So it is a safe place. The tenants are, it's non-solicitation. It's not a tip club. It is 100% confidential. You break confidentiality, you're out. And we don't give advice. We share experience. So when you're presenting an issue, we're all trained on how to coach people to help get to the root cause of the issue, or at least get all the relevant details. But what happens is when you present this information, if you were to tell me something, I'm like, you know what, Ethan, this is what you should do. Well, number one, who knows if I'm right? Number two, what I may think may be completely irrelevant. And number three is you may be withholding the most important piece of information that's causing this problem, okay? Because you're embarrassed, it's a trust thing, whatever. So by sharing experiences, this is how I had something similar to what happened. These were the options I had. This is the decision I made. This was the outcome I got. And by leveraging that experience in the room, you can take a little piece about what I said, and a little piece about what John said, and a little piece of what Jill said, and put your own puzzle together. Okay, so, and it's the place where you can talk about it. I love my wife dearly, but she is not the person to give me human resource guidance. Oh, you should fire them. I'm like, okay, right. Yeah, that's helpful. Thank you. No, I can't fire them. I'm just venting right now. But EO in that my forum, that we're all fighting a similar fight, and we can do this. The second part of what I got out of EO that I think has really changed me as a leader is by taking on leadership roles inside the organization. So inside my chapter, regionally, I've had some global leadership roles. And what that does is it teaches you to lead without org chart power. Okay, so, when we're inside our organizations, we're the boss. We're the last say. We have the opportunity. We literally control people's future a number of different ways. When you're trying to get things done in a volunteer-based organization of entrepreneurs who are all this, you need to lead a different way. And what I found was learning to lead inside the entrepreneurs organization changed the way I led inside my organization. And I think that's when that switch flipped. That's when, we really started growing. So it's a different mindset of leadership. It's more of the servant leadership. Flip the org chart upside down, and you're there to, I help people to ask me what my role is. My job is to put out really big fires and to knock down walls. That's my only job. And that fire better be really big before it gets to my desk, because all my team is empowered to handle that type of stuff.
That is, the fantastic thing of working with KegWorks is you've empowered your team to make decisions, to positively and negatively, right? To allow them to grow and develop and bring them all forward. And I find that, that's one of the most noble things you can do as a business owner, right? Is it's you've got to build and grow your team and teach your folks how to evolve with the business, right? And so It's definitely a key thing that I've learned by watching you do
I,
that in multiple ways.
I like to say, tell people all the time, I am operationally irrelevant to my company. If I'm here or I'm not here, we have a clear vision on where we're going. We have clear objectives of what we're doing, from an annual, from a quarterly to a weekly basis. Accountabilities are clearly defined. People are empowered. Bottlenecks are always at the top of the bottle. I don't want to be that way. My team, I have 3 very strong leaders on my leadership team, and they do a fantastic job of running their teams. And this is it. All I kind of do is, set the strategy and, like I said, put out really big fires and knock down walls. But the last thing you want me is in the warehouse.
How has that led? Yeah, no, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. That was it. That was like, you don't want me in the warehouse. Like I tell people all the time. Someone will call me, hey, I got this project. Great. I'm going to bring so and so into it. He's a lot smarter than I am, and he's going to take better care of you. But I am there to make sure if you're not getting the service you need, you can always call me. But he does this every day, and he will take very good, or she will take very good care of you. And I hand it off to the team, and they run with it.
Well, in fact, you did that with me when our kegerator was kind of on the fritz, and your guy was like, "Oh, it's too warm and your air pressure is too hot," and so let's do these 2 things, and by tomorrow you'll be in great shape, and this is what you do. And we used to have tons of issues, and now we can pour a pint that John Taffer would be proud of out of our bar. So it's good to have that kind of knowledge on hand.
Hire
Then you
smart
also
people and
kind
let
of
them do what they do.
evolved into becoming a Pinnacle business guide. Yeah. Yes. So you've become a Pinnacle business guide. It's a fantastic organization. We run the Pinnacle system here at Groove. Pretty familiar with it. Talk a little bit about that journey and how you've gotten involved in helping other entrepreneurs grow their businesses.
Yep. So Pinnacles, I'm technically not a Pinnacle guide right now. I have another startup that I'm running because I'm a glutton, or glutton for punishment, I should say. I had forgotten how hard a startup was, especially in an industry I didn't know anything about. But sure, let's do that. But I still do. I still am a business coach. I have a number of clients I do one-on-one coaching with, a few companies that I work with on their leadership team. Coaching their leadership teams. And what it is I like to say I'm system agnostic, meaning that, if you want to use Vern Harnish's words in scaling up, we can use Vern Harnish's words. If you want to use EOS Traction, we can use their words. You and I ran Traction for a long time. We want to use Pinnacle. I like Pinnacle a lot. I think Pinnacle is the most flexible of the systems out there. And we can implement whatever system you as an organization want, and I will guide you through this process. But it's important we have a system, a strategic planning system in place, a meeting cadence in place, a way that we can bring issues to the forefront and address them. How do we have scorecards? How do we, measure our progress? What's our dashboards look like? How do we know there's a problem? In digging into it, you and I are both data junkies, and I'd like to say it's the desert island scorecard. If I could get one email, if I'm stuck on a desert island, this is the email I want to get. and I can reply to that email based on the data I see where I can ask questions. And, at heart, I'm an old school Peter Drucker guy. You can't manage what you can't measure, and what gets measured is what gets done.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. What's the biggest mistake you've made at KegWorks? What's the biggest thing you've learned from in your
Oh,
time there?
geez. We got 3 more hours. Um, no, you know what I'll say is I biggest mistake. Well, the most expensive mistake I made was a Magento implementation a long time ago. Um, just anything, I've done a number of platform changes, and everything that could have
Hmm.
went wrong on this one. From Google shutting us off because we missed a tag on an alcohol-based product, to going cloud versus big iron hardware, to um, the cutover. Like it was bad. It was bad. Um,
Brutal.
Brutal. My decision on opening a really nice retail store, in hindsight, wasn't good. Um, those were probably two of the biggest mistakes that took us the longest to dig out from. Um, but the ones that kind of always ride me are the ones where I let I didn't listen to my gut. Where I'm like, okay, I'm gonna empower this person, and they think we should do this. I'm like, that's not right. I'm like, well, you got to do it. They're hiring this person, or they're bringing this person on, or this is the direction we're gonna do. And okay, um, and now there's checks and balances in place where things like that, I still kind of am included in the decision flow, and refer to my right to veto something. So it's the one, a lot of them come down to bad hires where someone else was in charge of making the hire, and when I met the person, I'm like, this isn't it, and I didn't say anything. And after I made that mistake, it only takes me 3 times to realize it. Um, and then now I'm more involved in certain spots of it. But those are the ones that always grind me. Is like when, like, God, you knew better.
Well, I think there's always personal growth that comes from big mistakes like that, and I think that oftentimes it can be expensive. You want to minimize that type of impact, but it also creates the biggest personal growth. When you're in those moments, and so um, I think to not try things and to not test new ideas as well, like is just as dangerous, right? To see businesses go out
Right,
of business because they haven't evolved or made a shift or a change.
right. And there's risk.
Well, I've got two more questions for you that I always risk. So I've got two more questions for you that I like to ask everybody on the podcast. First is, what's keeping you up at night currently?
My 17-year-old daughter. Um, 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 what's keeping me up at night? Um, the you know what? Something's really got to be bothering me for it to keep me up at night. I compartmentalize pretty well. I can, I sleep pretty good. I'm not going to say my startup hasn't kept me up a few times in the last year, but that's my own fault.
And you're clearly not a Virgo if you're sleeping well.
No, I'm a Scorpio.
And the last question I like to ask is, do you have one tip for another CEO that's looking to scale their e-commerce business?
I'm going to go back to trust your gut. Um, an e-com business is the platform in which we deliver value to our customers. And it's no different than any other type of business. You need to give value, whether your value is price, whether your value is product, whether your product, or whether you're giving knowledge. Give first, and the market will respond. And going back to trust your gut. If your gut says there's an opportunity there, then, do your research. And if you're 50-50, trust your gut. That's how you learn.
It's great. That's great. It's great advice. Great advice. Great advice. Very valid. Very valid. Tom, I'm just very appreciative of you, taking an hour out of your extremely busy schedule. Honored to have you on the podcast. I'm very, very excited to see you. I always gain, there's always something I gain out of every conversation with you, and that's really how I kind of measure folks. And, every time I wish we lived closer and could, maybe not expensive whiskey, maybe expensive tequila, but that we could crack that open. So
when you sent me that
really
bottle,
appreciative of seeing you.
When you sent me that bottle, the first thing I called you and said, I don't need another vice. So yeah. I got a good eclipse story in that bottle of Classe.
You don't need another vice.
So
we'll have to save that for another episode. Another episode. So where can our listeners find you online if they want to connect with you? Are you on LinkedIn? Are there any social channels where folks can connect with you?
LinkedIn's probably the best way. The TS McManus, I believe, is my personal. Nothing's hidden. Type Tom McManus, KegWorks, send me a message. You said if I can. All
right, great.
Be of service to anyone, please don't hesitate to reach out. Always happy to help. Always help you. Always happy to appreciate everything you do. Appreciate our friendship, and got a lot of respect for what you're doing too.
Thank you very, very much. Thank you. I appreciate it. All right, Tom, it's been an honor to be with you here today. I've taken just about an hour. Thank you again, and I look to see you soon.
Great. Thanks, Ethan.